Hello everybody, I'm back to my Rya loom. I haven't done this for many months. I've been so busy with other things on the studio that I've neglected this poor thing, and I'd like to get it finished. I've changed my plans a bit on what I'm going to be doing because I've gotten such serious electrical sensitivities and stuff that I need to put some wall hangings on the wall that will prevent some of the Wi-Fi and other radiation that comes into the house. And so I'm going to change my Rya Rugs a bit, and I'm going to weave 3 strands of the metal yarns that I have into the warp, and I'm also going to add the strands into the knotted Rya pieces that I do, or the weft in it, because I think that will provide a lot of insulation in the walls and help to break the radiation. I'll be able to. It'll be a really good test because half of it doesn't have the metal yarns in it, and the other half will have it. So I'll be able to tell whether that does affect the EMF radiation that comes off from the things that are out in the sky. So I'm just going to work along on this and not do a lot of talking. My loom does creak and groan a lot, so it makes funny noises. So if you don't get tired of it, just watch and see what I'm doing, and maybe I'll comment sometimes, but when I get into this, I'll just kind of go for it. So I hope you like it. Now to remember what I was doing. Oops, what fell? My scissors, of course. So this is a pattern that I got from an old Finnish Rya rug weaving book, and I'm sort of following it, but I'm changing colors as I go along. I think I'm up to this part here. The whole rug actually won't be quite as big as this, so it's going to be maybe another couple of feet. I don't want to make it huge. Okay. So it's got grays, it's got oranges and yellows and white. Okay. I use a piece of cardboard, a folded piece of cardboard, as my fancy cutting tool. So I'm using the 3 strands of the different metallic yarns in this as well. So I think I'm just going to cut it with this. And oops. No, right. I think I need to fold a bigger piece of cardboard, another piece of cardboard. It's kind of falling apart. used to weave Rya rugs on a tapestry loom, and I think I liked that better because I had the nice tray where I could lay out all of the cut yarns and pick it from there. Not as easy to weave Rya yardage though for backing, but for actually doing this kind of stuff, it's easier to do it on the tapestry. And a grey. Well, end of that one. That's odd. Okay. I do hope that's not moth eggs in there. I think that might be moths in there. Okay. I'm going to throw this one out and look for another shade of grey. That's what happens with wool. Sometimes the moths like to live. Yeah, I'm not going to use that one either. Well, that was a fun discovery. I was kind of suspecting that some of these are going to have moths in them. It just happens with wool because the moths are always lay their eggs in wool, and then the eggs stay dormant until the temperatures become just right, and then they hatch. And there's nothing you can do about it. Mothballs and stuff might repel new moths from flying on there to the wool, but if it's already happened on the sheep in the field, that's, you know, too late. It's going to happen. Alcohol does kill them, so I think what I'm going to do is when I finish this rug is I'm going to spray it with a bottle of alcohol, because the alcohol will kill the moths. Unfortunately, I'm really allergic to alcohol now, so I'd have to have somebody else do that for me. And the other thing to do is if you're in a cold climate, is in the winter time and there's a nice fresh fall of snow, put your rugs outside and lay them in the snow overnight, and the frost will kill some of the little eggs that happen to be in it, you hope. But otherwise it's wool, and that's just what happens with it, and that's how it is. Okay. No, some in there. And there's probably some in there. I'm going to have to go get a fresh batch from the studio. Well, this is going to take a while to get going here. Okay, so I have a fresh skein of wool that I've dyed with logwood in gray, and the easiest way when you don't have a ball winder is to just use your thumb and wind the yarn onto your thumb, and it creates a center pull ball. Sometimes I use a stick, as I showed in another video, but sometimes a thumb is just a lot easier and quicker, and it's always there for you. The other thing with moths that I've discovered over the years is I don't use cedar chips, I don't use moth spray, I don't use moth balls. I just store the wool in, the best place to store the wool is in those mesh bags that you can now buy. The moths don't seem to be, if I store so I now sell all the yarns in the mesh bags as well when I sell yarns. And they're in small quantities, and if that particular bag gets some moths in it, I just throw it out. But they don't seem to be able to penetrate. If they're flying around, they don't seem to be able to get into the bag. Sometimes they do if it's not tied tightly. So they fly around the studio if I see them, but they don't attack my wool because they can't get into it. If I put them in I was storing them in big plastic boxes, but then a moth gets in there and the whole, 2 kilos of yarn is gone and eaten up. But in the little bags, they don't. If they happen to hatch, if there was a moth egg or two in the yarn that's in the bag, then basically they just kind of eat happily through the whole bag. But then that's the only thing you're losing, so it reduces the amount of loss when moths do attack something. So it's worth ordering some on Amazon and or wherever I am, keeping some around and storing your wools that way. Oh, I must have wound that wrong. Okay, I'm going to cut this off because that's enough to get me started, and I'll finish the rest of that later. Oops. Okay. Now, where was I? Oh, I did have 2 shades of gray. Oh, well. And this one's been attacked as well. Huh. Must be something about maybe the smell of that color, or they just like dark. They like to hide in dark things. So they pick the gray ones.